day 1296. Let me make sure that I am on. Oh man. Um, I'm just looking at something that popped up. Wow. Normally I would stop everything and I would comment because it has to do with Richard's case and it has to do with corrupt officials. Corrupt officials. Okay, so I don't know if you saw it. Yesterday, I even dared to post up Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin. And yeah, um, it looks like it kind of got shadow banned. And, I'm like, why? Why? It's very, very important right now. It's very important. And what it shows, and here we are, 1,296 days, right? Coming up on 1,300 days doing this. And the whole problem why it's been taking this long is because the communications have been blocked. The communications have been blocked. The open records have been blocked. The the truth of all of the connections, and today we have breaking news. There's so many family ties in the suspects and those that participated in the Walmart mass shooting case, and also which is Richard's case. Together, this is family connections, business connections also, and it's all coming out. So, and of course it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense. And here, all of this could be out there already, but because those connections are with the very people that we pay for, that we fund, and we call them law enforcers, right, are the ones that are covering up, that are not enforcing, but that are sabotaging. So law saboteurs, that's what they're doing. And because they're covering that up, the truth up, and not exposing the violations of the law, we're in this pickle. We're in this mess, right? 1,296 days. We're in this big mess. And it's so clear um, because, uh, you know, it makes sense. It makes sense that there are family and business ties, right? Because what would be the motivation? What would be the motivation to do the cover up, to go against the law? And what would make them so emboldened to be law saboteurs? What would it, if they're not afraid of the law because they are the ones that have the authority or are in the positions, they're the ones that all of society, all of the community, especially there in El Paso, depend on to enforce the laws, and yet they're the saboteurs, then that emboldens them with their criminal activities. And where does that trust come from? Because even criminal saboteurs, even the criminal enterprise law saboteurs have to have a loyalty. They have to have a loyalty amongst themselves. And that's why they get so brutally murderous, because if there is no loyalty, they have to kill you off, right? They have to retaliate against you. They have to kill you off. They have to threaten you. They have to spend, I'm not joking, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on their informants. But, wait, but if we make a deal with some of these government officials, right? If we're the government and we can hire on the taxpayer's dime, informants to do the dirty work, right? If we can get the taxpayers to fund our criminal activity, right? And fund our saboteur activities, right? So, like Bill Hicks, we have absolutely, he is a law saboteur. Matter of fact, I just put out a meme about him being the timestamp tamperer, right? The timestamp, but he is a law saboteur. That's what he is. And he's supposed to be the district attorney. He's illegitimate. He's illegitimate because he's a law saboteur. And any law saboteur who does not want to be a law enforcer and gets appointed and uh, gets into the office, first steps he takes is saboteur, tampering with his timestamp, right? But even before he got in, he was being a law saboteur because we have it in our open records requests. That's why they don't want to give it to us, right? Because they're so damning. So we get these open records requests, and what's in them? Him spying. It seems like espionage to me when you are, uh, you know, looking in on all the activity and DA Yvonne Rosales' office so that you know everything what's happening and you're not even in that office, right? And then you go in and research how to take her down. You even give a presentation on how to take her down, and then you email with Justin Underwood, who's absolutely a law saboteur. Please do not hire him. He's a law saboteur. He's up to no good because and think about it. What a law saboteur is uh, worthy of a capital punishment because they are turning our society into a gang of bullies that if you don't want to go along with their criminal activities, with their fentanyl, with their fentanyl laced Percocet, with their human trafficking, with their child pornography, which is child torture, with their pedophilia, which is capital punishment to me, with their uh, you know, all of these young people that are disappearing, where are they going? And now we find out at the border the problem is this organs trafficking, people's hearts being ripped out, right? Being found, their bodies being found with their organs ripped out of them. And, who do they want? Of course, they want young hearts, young adult hearts, young kidneys, young pancreases. And, I haven't talked about this too much. It's a nightmare. It is a total nightmare. And Richard was an organ donor, okay? That he had organ donor on his driver's license because he had a good heart. Literally, he had a good heart. But spiritually, he had a good heart. And that's why he put his life on the line to be a whistleblower. And, I don't know. I don't know if I should mention my experience with that in my youth. Um, yeah, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't. But, you know, what has happened now is this huge demand for human organs. And we have a problem now with organ trafficking. And new information has come up with that. But, how do they get away with this kind of stuff? How does somebody has to be a relative to Mario Raskin Ortiz, right? Somebody has to be a relative to Lydia Rocha and Belen Rocha and Herberto Eddie Rocha and their family with Tanya Katzen, with Danae Katzen, with Cesar Gonzalez, right? With Lilani Hart, with Rosemary um, Valdez Garcia, with Jesus Melendez, with Marlon Soto Hernandez, with Tavita Nusa, with um, Bradford Bugado, with Nadal Baim, with Jesus, um, the FBI supervisory agent, Jesus Eddie Nieto, with uh, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, right? Somebody, they all have to be somehow with Angela Kacherga, with um, Jaime Esparza, with, and there's all these other names, y'all, all these other names that connect, and there's family ties. Oh, with Chris Grant, with Chris Grant, um, and it goes up into the ranks. And people told me right from the beginning when I said, "Oh my gosh, this must be some kind of cooperative effort to cover up." And people would say, "How can that be?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." But nothing makes sense except for that. And now, 3.5 years later, it makes total sense because Richard's case came before the Walmart mass shooting of August 3rd, 2019, because he was whistleblowing on their illegal activities, and they had a loyalty amongst themselves. And even he was even whistleblowing on, 17-year-old at the time, Belen Rocha. And I want to tell you, for a long time, I'm just like, okay, she's so young. But what really was interesting about speaking with her, with Marlon Soto, um, about Danae Katzen, which is just, you look back and I'm like, oh my gosh. What what was very, very telling about that time is when you mentioned illegal drugs, she could spit them out. I think it was 8 or 10 of them that she said in less than 3 seconds. Maybe I'm over exaggerating. It was in a matter of seconds. In a matter of seconds, she, it's like she's a cigarette girl. And, she has Marlboro and I don't even know the cigarettes. But, it's like she, what do you got? Oh, I got, blah, 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 blah. She had the whole system, the whole narrative, the whole selling point embedded in her already. And, I'm like, wow, I don't know. I don't, sorry, I'm getting warm. Um, it's, it's like, wow, uh, she's in the business. She's in the business. When you're selling cars, you know about cars. When you're selling um, anything, right? That's what you know. I know homeschool stuff. I know kids books, children's books. That's uh, because that's what I try to sell. I try to sell methods for homeschooling, and so what I'm saying is, if she knows it, she was trying to sell it. She's part of it. And from that meeting, I was saying at the time, well, she doesn't even know Richard. She doesn't know him. And she really doesn't, because she couldn't tell a story. she couldn't tell any kind of experience she had with him. And she, doesn't know his body markings. And he has them. I know them. Of course. So she doesn't. She didn't. And that was telling. Now, did Richard care for her? Oh, yeah, he did. He did. He put his life on the line. And, when you live in a sex cult atmosphere, when you live in a pedophilia atmosphere, and they do, I mean it, they do. Months and months of messaging, their minds are uh, child porn, pedophilia, sex cults. Um, it's pretty dirty, pretty dirty, and you know to have those kind of minds, it means that that's their life, and they'll accuse other people because that's what they know, that's what their life is. I don't even know if they can imagine a life that doesn't have that in them. That kind of sex cult, dirty, pedophilia, pornography, drugs, all of that. Um, the nightlife, the dreams cabaret. You know, I can tell you 100%, 100% that when Richard got to Fort Bliss, that was not his mind. That was not his life. His mind never, nope, nope, never. And to see someone young be exploited like that, groomed like that, um, that he cared for, because it's like a teacher. You go into the classroom, at least for me, and you have your class and you care for them. You want the best for every one of them. You want every one of them to succeed. And they all have different personalities. They all come from different backgrounds, every last one of them. And you care for them. And you have that Good Samaritan mindset, right? The Good Samaritan values. You don't have uh, this sexual cult. You might just want to care for them and want them to have a good life. And from the words of Richard, from the recordings that we have, you know, I know, I know you don't, have to listen to me. So he's not being domineering. That's what he said. I know you don't have to listen to me. But he had to say it. Don't do it. They're just horny. They just want to see you naked. They say they respect you, but they really don't. To me, that is a person that cares. And so, could she even realize it? No. She said, he called the CPS on me. Okay. So, like, If your house is burning and someone calls uh, the um, the fireman on you, right? Um, does that mean that you know your house is going to get ruined by a bunch of water or whatever, and that person is just hateful? If your children are being sexually exploited, if your children are being harmed, and someone, of course, the CPS is in on this cover up, because 85,000 unaccounted for minors, and the CPS is not up in arms. Ann Ogle's not up in arms when that is her duty to care for these young people that put their foot on Fort Bliss. That's her duty. She's in on it. Even if she's just silent, she's in on it. She's absolutely guilty. Absolutely. We've entrusted to her a job to look after children, to look after their well-being on Fort Bliss. And she hasn't. She's a very big player in this with Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services. Very big player, because she didn't have Richard's back. And she absolutely knew who Richard was, because Richard complained to the Child Protective Services. But they don't care, they're in on it. That means there's absolutely human trafficking. Because where are they? I mean, let's not play dumb. There's human trafficking. And with that human trafficking comes human sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, slavery, just plain old slavery for cheap labor. And then there's also the organ harvesting trafficking. And then there's some kind of sick stuff going on too. So absolutely, Thomas Kane is a very big player in this with Ann Ogle. And any of them protecting them, the JAG, to no good. And then, of course, the DA. Where's the DA? He's too busy tampering with his timestamp, spying on the position that he wants, so that he can keep the crime cases in pieces, so that nobody will be held accountable. Because even in this whole Patrick Crucius case, it's a mess. And it's such a mess. There's so much tampering. There's so much botchness. The botchness of these cases are so bad that he may walk. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't like that. And I don't even believe that he shot all those people. But he walked up and played the game. He walked up to that Hispanic police officer and has let the likes of Chris Grant, who is a total perpetual criminal, which is a very, very bad thing. Because you can make a mistake, but when you're perpetual, that means you like making the mistakes, that you choose to make the mistakes, that you choose to commit the crimes all the time. You can make a bad choice sometimes, And you have to pay for it. That's right. But when you're perpetual, that in itself is a is really really bad. That makes you a bad guy, and a bad guy is bad for our society. It's bad for our community, bad for our country, and it leads to uh, worse and worse crimes because they never get a belly full. They never fill their belly. They want more all the time of whatever terrible things that they do because there's no confession. You see, in my faith, confession is a sacrament. It's a sacrament. It's a restrainer. And it's a cure of souls. And when you have no confession, when you perpetually want to do crime, you're a real danger to society because there's no restraint on you. No restraint at all. And so these family ties had to be known by HRC. Think about it. Why was Nieto, FBI supervisory agent, allowed to be the El Paso FBI supervisory agent? He has so many conflicts of interest, it would make your head spin. And those loyalties, the family loyalties, the business loyalties, absolutely gets in the way of your law enforcement process and duties. Absolutely, especially when uh, when they're criminals. We can't pick our family members, right? But why is he there? If he moved up in the ranks and he's, connected to the El Paso Police Department, that's another. I mean, there's so many conflicts of interest with him, with his wife, with Nadal Baim, with Bradford Bugado, and it gets deeper, that it would make your head spin. And don't forget that Nadal Baim is the FBI man. Absolutely, I'm with the FBI. Oh, no, he's not FBI. Well, he's FBI. He's FBI. He said he's FBI. I don't see him ever being arrested. Now, Tavita Nusa lost his badge. Before 15 September 2021, which, thank you, Lord, that we have the audio because they could not put that in the report. They had to leave that out, that he lost his badge. They wanted a narrative that everything was okay, but not everything is okay with Marlon Soto Hernandez and Tavita Nusa and Jesus Nieto. I mean, with the FBI and the CID having the conflicts of interest that they do, and then with Angela Kachurga, and with Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM Richards Command, the internal affairs. Can you imagine? And then of course you have the big players of Thomas Kane and Ogle and their business dealings together, of course, with Lonnie Hart. And then it's connected, so everything is connected here. And then it's connected with the August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting through 3905 Bliss Avenue, 3705 Bliss Avenue. I mean, you think it was an accident that Danae Katzen came up to us and was trying to divert our attention? She was sent. And so that means that Cesar Gonzalez and others in this, I have it right here, this whole family tree, family tree, um, with her mother, Tanya Katzen, and the family tree, others, right? And it didn't have to take this long. It's just, you know, the actual law enforcement, the actual people we have entrusted to protect the Constitution, that means to enforce the law, which is the land and the people. You know, I've really, it took me a long time to learn this. But the law is the land and the people. We cannot coexist. We cannot have freedom. We cannot have peace. We cannot pursue our happiness. We cannot pursue our talents without law and order. Restraining, it's like this sickness that we have with this money spending, right? You know, what is it? Almost $34 trillion, if not $34 trillion of debt. Well, that has to be paid, and that has to be paid with interest rates, and then all these the info the the government workers have to all be paid to keep them happy, right? And these top people have to take their share. But really, what do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for it? All that. You know how much $34 trillion is? I mean, it's like this bond for the new police station, right? That was passed. It wasn't going to be passed until August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting happened. And, you had this narrative that this autistic young man that surrenders himself to a Hispanic police officer with severe, Patrick Crucius evaluated as having a severe mental health condition, quote unquote, right, is supposed to have done everything that they said, right, without a drop of blood on, totally clean, super clean shoes. He even had white soles on his shoes, right? Everything clean, being bottles thrown at him getting in close range and being heartless and doing unspeakable things to Hispanic people, and after writing a manifesto. And, it's the most ridiculous narrative. Ridiculous narrative. Nothing makes sense in it. And we're supposed to believe that this perpetual criminal, Chris Grant, is a reliable source, and the media just repeats and repeats and repeats him like a media darling, just shows his picture up there all the time in the hospital. And, and I'm like, wait a minute. I have to ask some of my, my husband, of course, because he's a PA and he's treated gunshot wounds, right? He's treated gunshot wounds. He was in the military for 30 years. He was deployed. I've lost count how many times he was deployed in the war, um, treating gunshot wounds. And I'm like, an AK-47. You get shot twice in the gut by an AK-47? What happens? Well, you're not walking around. You're not walking back to the automotive unless maybe Superman or something. I mean, normally if you're a little bit weighty, have a little weight on you, that might help. But he doesn't seem to have any weight, extra weight on him. And all the great samurais were all a little hefty, right? Um, for protection. He's not hefty at all. And we're supposed to believe this perpetual criminal that has a record of such bad things, y'all. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy, not to be trusted, just like Leilani Hart. Leilani Hart is a bad, bad woman. Very bad. She gave over her friend's child to her household that she reported as being pedophilia, incestual, having weapons, illegal weapons, and threatening people with her with weapons, dealing in child porn, all of this. And she says, "Oh yeah, friend. Oh yeah, just leave your children here with them. Oh, they got raped. Oh, they got sexually assaulted in my master bedroom. Oh, well, I'm not going to report it." She didn't report it until what? What is it? 1 or 2 years later? There was no outright, not until she was mad at her husband. Not until she was mad at her husband and the report would serve her. These people, they're it's such a terrible thing. What kind of friend is that? She's not a friend. And neither is Chris Grant, that the media pushed both of them. Both of them are unreliable sources. Both of their words should never be heard or printed for mass consumption. And Chris and Leilani said the most horrible things. Horrible, outrageous things. And we're supposed to believe him? Where the evidence with our own eyes don't tell that story. And El Paso Police Department, that's not me, that's El Paso Police Department, saying the evidence did not prove what Chris Grant was saying. The evidence doesn't prove it. Yet, that's the narrative that they ran with. A false one. No wonder President Trump calls them the fake news, because that's exactly what they did. The most fake, and what they did with that was to hurt people. They absolutely hurt us with Leilani Hart. We're still having to do this day in and day out to find out where's our son. And it didn't have to be. But because of Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, using an unreliable source, and Major General Eisenhower, letting that happen with an unsecure military base. I mean, he's a bad guy. He's so bad. undoing our military. Why do we need enemies when we have a major general like Eisenhower, like Clem Coward, like Garrett Four-Star, like Donna Martin, IG, she's Inspector General of the Army, inspecting her role as the provost marshal when all of this was going on. She is policing herself, and she's being let to do it. Let to do it. What's going on in our military right now in the leadership, and it is really concerning because the military is not a democracy. You have to follow orders. So our sons and daughters are at great risk, and they have suffered so much. Honestly, if we didn't have this mess, Richard would be alive. Glendon Oakley Jr. would be alive. Vanessa Guillen would be alive. And Enrique Roman Martinez would be alive. And Austin Hawke would be alive. And many, many more. Many more. Elder Fernandez would be alive. Asia Graham would be alive. But because they don't secure the base, because they don't take whistleblowing seriously, because they don't identify crime and document the crime and prosecute the crime, no, what they do is they identify the whistleblower and they bully, they retaliate against the whistleblower to keep the crime going, because it must be family loyalty or business reasons lining their pocket, saying, hey, we're going to use the American people's taxpayers. They'll pay for everything. They'll pay for our bullies. They'll pay for our vacations. They'll pay for our stars. They'll pay for our housing. They'll pay for our contracts. They'll pay for our weapons and the ammunition that we'll sell. We'll put all this stuff. We'll sell it all. And we will, fund our criminal enterprise with the American people's taxpayers' money, and hell with the Constitution. Hell with our sons and daughters. They're going to be pawns. They're going to keep the war machine going, and we'll do all the ceremonies, and we'll make the American people pay for that too. This is a matrix, y'all. It is a matrix. Because what's really going on is a huge family-connected, business-connected criminal enterprise. And, of course, Fort Bliss is a micro picture, right? A micro system there with Nieto, with Marlon Soto, with Tavita Nusa, with Ann Ogle, with Leilani Hart, with Dallas Hart, with the Rochas, with the Katzens, with, the Grants and the Garretts and the, all of this. They're just connected. And they've fine-tuned it. They've been doing it for a long time. The dream cabarets, and let's give our soldiers a good time, right? Let's give them a good time. But then Dreams Cabaret, when you look it up, they're suspected of doing the trafficking, the human trafficking. They're the ones that are doing the narcotics. They're the ones that are accused of sexual assault. They're the ones accused of violence. So, let's give them cards. They can go spend it over at Dreams Cabaret and have a good time. Being amongst the marketplace of illegal drugs, the prostitution, the human trafficking, the pornography, the whatever. And that's on the American people's dime. Oh, we caught a couple hundred. Oh, yeah, we caught a couple hundred. Oh, how dare they do that? And then they keep letting it happen because it's just a matrix, and they'll give us, a little crumb every so often. They'll have to put on this elaborate show, and I'm telling you, this Chris Grant thing, that was an elaborate, deadly show because it was so divisive. It was so racist. It was such a lie. Everything he said was such a lie. And I think, the very people in that, um, Donna Sifford, right? Donna Sifford, border, what is she? Border, I know customs border director, right? But she's a big honcho in the customs and border protectors. She didn't have her sidearm. It's not like she just got in. She didn't have her sidearm. She's a big honcho. She probably had to witness in Richard's case. That's another thing. It's like, okay, who witnessed in Richard's case, because the law enforcement was witnessing in Richard's case. We know that because of Anthony Swafford at the military police right there on Fort Bliss. Oh, who said that? The guard mount. Oh, who was witnessing for Richard? Well, and I'm telling you, with the border incident, um, someone had to witness. Well, is she trustworthy? I'm going to tell you right now, she's connected. She's not trustworthy. So, it's like the media brings out these people because Angela Kachurka is connected, which means that Bob Moore is connected. And Bob Moore was getting leaks, exclusive leaks from Bill Hicks that involved Justin Underwood, the attorney for Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who is the ex-wife, long ex-wife, connected to 3905 Bliss Avenue of victim Alexander um, Gerhard Hofmann wrote. I mean, these are all connected. They all have something to lose. And it's like, you're going to go crazy, crying, shaking because of my son? That doesn't make sense to me. No, no, no. I'm not afraid of my son. Why are you afraid of my son? Because he knew something. Because he knew something. And, you saw that he likes to write. We put up his letter to his grandparents from basic training. We're like, where's his notebook? Where's his notebook? I'm sure, Rob has kept a journal. Ever since I've known him, he's kept a journal. Where's Richard's journal? Because we know now his car was tampered with. We don't even know the whole story with the car, because the very people that were giving us information don't even exist. We had to look that up. We were being lied to. So the whole car thing, and knowing that Marlon Soto's dirty, knowing that Tavita Nusa lost his badge, knowing that Nieto is dirty, sorry, he is. He's totally compromised. He has so many conflicts of interest, it would make your head spin. That needs to be a meme. And why is he there? Why is Marlon Soto there? Why was Tavita Nusa there with his surgical technician, and his family with the mortuary affairs experience, and these connections with Mario Rascon Ortiz? And it's so dangerous because we're talking about so much money, y'all. So much money. Just that bond was hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, um, just that bond to build the police station. So when you start putting all these pieces together, it is it's so dangerous because these people have money, and they, you know, uh, they they have money because they use American taxpayers' money to do to carry out their criminal enterprise. And this, yeah, where it leads. And I just, Team Farm Richard Halliday, we've just said, when is it going to stop? If everybody is afraid, the bullies don't stop. And, one of my favorite movies is the original black and white Seven Samurai. And these farmers, they were so clever, but they were so afraid, and they could get extorted and robbed and robbed and extorted. And, that one samurai that had the will, not the skill, but the will, um, he ended up dying. Um, it's just, I don't know if you've ever watched the movie. The facial expressions, the emotions in it, the dedication to protecting what is good, what is true from the bullies that just want to rape and steal and destroy. And, um, they want all the benefits of hard work without doing any of the hard work, except, they just want to take. And, and then they demand loyalty amongst themselves. And then there's violent that happens because, of course, with a bunch of thieves, is there ever going to be loyalty? And that's why all these criminal syndicates are so violent, because they're continuously fighting amongst themselves because of the disloyalty. There's no honor amongst thieves. And, and of course, that violence spills over. And what I was told over and over again in these very vulgar, vile messages was that they already had judged Richard. They already had judged him, you see. But see, his loyalty was not to them, not to the criminals. His loyalty was not to the criminals. No. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Grace, for coming on. Thank you, Ruth. And, you know, uh, the people of El Paso to come on this late, burning the midnight oil to hear this day in and day out. But we have breaking news just about every day. And there's a lot of breaking news happening behind the scenes that I'm not at liberty to even say, because, you'll see it. You'll see it. You have to read between the lines of what is going on. And, we just have to be bold in the truth. And of course, it's so obvious that the ways that they're going to get the loyalty to carry out their very criminal, very violent criminal enterprise, because there's violence to children, there's violence with their pedophilia, with their incest, with their pornography. There's violence with their illegal drug trade and the weapons and the ammunition and the equipment. There's so much violence here. And the only way they can get um, the loyalty is with these family ties, the grooming, the grooming through these family ties. And that has become very, very obvious. And, uh, we have the hard evidence for it because we found the connections. The shocking connections are with the media, and it makes sense. Of course, Angela Kachurga is connected. And if she's connected, and she's totally connected, then when she was talking with me, she absolutely knew at that time what happened to Richard. That's why she didn't care to even ask, because she already knew. She already knew. And I think that that is, really heart wrenching because she has this reputation that, oh, you can trust me. I care about the border. I care about El Paso. She's the opposite. Absolutely the opposite. And that's heartbreaking because she really is the ultimate con artist in all of this, with Bob Moore as a con artist. These media, they really are the hypnotizers, the saboteur hypnotizers. They have their role to play. It's a huge role because if they keep us hypnotized, then we can't see that our so-called law enforcers are really law saboteurs. That they're keeping our murder cases in pieces, that they're not giving us justice, and they're just swindling us millions and millions of dollars. We still do not have the official report that Bill Hicks should give us, right? That he was told to give us, of the millions and millions of dollars that has been spent on the Patrick Crucius case, which is the August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting, and also it is Richard's case. And tell us, all what you've spent on that, because it's a lot. It's a lot. So thank you so much for coming on, and it's very important for you to share. And there's plenty on Find Richard Halliday to share. You can just do a search and for a topic that you think people need to know about, and share that information, because it is so multifaceted, because it is an international crime. It's binational, and we are working with the Department of State, with Mexico. We are working with that, and don't forget um, to read between the lines and everything. We are working. Uh, we do have. I want to make sure that everyone knows this. We are, because of what's happening politically, we're finally getting some institutional support that is moving, that is actually doing something. And so that is really, really good news. And, we had little bits, little bits, little bits, but now it's starting to move quicker. So please pray that we will have uh, some things happening that will really, because the case is broken. We just need to shatter it now. It really needs to get out there, and um, with that, we can drive because we have to use who we have in office, right? Veronica Escobar needs to be driven to do her job. She can't have a choice. It's kind of, you know, we need Bill Hicks. I was thinking about doing a meme with him in handcuffs because the the crimes that he has committed with John Briggs and Justin Underwood and Bob Moore are so huge. They absolutely need to be arrested. And I have so many that I just want to try to paint. Of course, I love art in handcuffs. And it would make me so happy to see them in handcuffs. And I've never, ever, ever felt like that in my life. Um, this has been, there would always be a little pity there, right? A little bit of pity, because I just never had been such a victim. And now we know why we get into this situation. Nope, nope. These people absolutely need to be um, handcuffed. And we absolutely need to have accountability. Um, we just have to do it for our soldiers, our service members' sake, our children's sake, our future's sake, our community's sake, our country's sake. We have to do it. We have to get accountability against these criminals and that have created this matrix. And if you haven't watched that movie, it's one of those kind of movies you have to watch a few times to really understand it. And with Richard's case, because the FBI is not what they they say they are, and the CID is not what they say they are, and the Army leadership is not what they say they are, and the DA office is not what they say they are, and and it goes on and on. So, yeah, we have to realize how we have to learn how to read the matrix. I guess that's what we have to do. And please do not do it the hard way like we've had to do it, um, with trying to get justice for our son. So God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.